still when I meet a lot of my colleagues, all of them have the same question that said you are a student and now you're also teaching. So yes, I'm also confused about that.
How did you transition from student to tutor?
So, and the answer to your question, how I got into it was I was recommended by the tutor, and the reason she recommended me was because I was doing like multiple projects at the same time while doing my dissertation. My name is Rohboam Amin. So I came into the UK in Jan 2023. So I'm pursuing a master's in computer science from the University of East London. And after dissertation, my course came with an industrial placement. So basically, I'm pursuing industrial placements.
For students who want to follow a similar path, what advice would you give?
So for any student, I myself am a student, so I always tell that solve problems. There are already frameworks that can solve problems.
Yes.
So my concept is that, so there are two concepts. Basically, there is a concept of,
Will AI replace humans?
well, that's a tricky question. So the simple answer is no. Why no? Because AI.
Hello guys, my name is Pavan Rohit Sagopi. So today we have Rohboam. We're going to discuss about this transition from student to tutor and what was his experience overall, and what was his journey, what are the things that he followed to get to where he is. So let's get started. So Rohboam, can you introduce yourself?
Well, hi Pawan, and thank you for the session. My name is Rohboam Amin. So I came into the UK in Jan 2023. So I'm pursuing a master's in computer science from the University of East London. So basically how it works is we have our modules. When we're done with our modules, so that's like for 1.5 years. So once we are done with our modules, then we have a dissertation. And after dissertation, my course came with an industrial placement. So basically I'm pursuing industrial placement. So I'm doing projects in the university. So, and apart from that, I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be recommended by one and two professors from the university. So they took me on as a lab tutor. So it's an lecturer role. So that is the role that I'm working on, in which I have been assigned labs, and those labs are for big data, and there's one is for masters and one is for final year undergraduate students. So that's my intro basically. That's it.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, the first time, like around October 6th, you've been my lab tutor. And my first initial thought was like, you're very young. The immediate question, how did he become from student to tutor? That's another triggering point. And from then onwards, I'm just thinking, okay, he has to be my guest. I have to know about his journey, like how did he become the way he is. So that's how you were my first guest.
But I'm very humbled and excited and thankful to Pawan for inviting me.
Yeah.
So since this is his first podcast, this is my first podcast as well.
So, okay, Robo, can you tell us about your journey? So, like, how did you transition from student to tutor, and what was your journey, and what made you to do like a tutoring job?
Oh, so basically, since this is not initially my first tutoring job, so I was my student during my dissertation as well. Because the thing is with dissertation, it's like for like 6 months. So but for me, when I was doing my courses, I was reached out by one of the professors to do a project with them. So she said that this is a long project, so we will start your dissertation like 7 months earlier than how it usually goes. So we started the dissertation like 7 months earlier. So during that time, so she got familiar with me and how I work. And again, I was fortunate enough that she had a lot of confidence in me. Due to which, during my dissertation, she handed me like 3 students who I had to supervise with their dissertations as well. So I'm young, so I'm still a student, but I was again fortunate enough that the tutor recommended me for this position. How it worked was she just one day reached out to me and said that we have this position for lab tutoring. So then I said, okay, I'll be able to do that. So frankly, I am very scared of teaching. So that was my journey, that I was recommended by the professor. Still, when I meet a lot of my colleagues, all of them have the same question that said you are a student and now you're also teaching. So yes, I'm also confused about that, but that's how it works. So I will graduate in January, but I'm able to teach you guys and the undergraduate students as well. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic. Actually, I mean, so there's a saying like So whatever you learn by teaching. So it will enhance your skills, but also if you share with others, it will increase your learning as well in that particular subject.
Yes. So basically, when they gave me big data course, I have studied big data, but when they gave me that course, so the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, this will be like a revision for me. Okay, because when I was studying it, I know the things that how it was working, but I was not familiar with the core concepts of big data, distributed processing, distributed machines, doing structured and unstructured queries on big data rather than simple data or small data sets that we have. So the first thought when they gave me these guys was, okay, so this will be first of all a revision for me rather than teaching them, because to teach you guys one thing,
Yeah.
I have to like understand a lot of things, so that because it's not just teaching you guys, so then some of you guys have questions and some of them are really good questions, and I may not know the answer to every question each time. So that is my responsibility, that when you ask a question, so I do my best to satisfy you with an answer. So to give you one concept, I have to learn like 10 multiple concepts. And that is how I think teaching should be.
Yeah.
Because to give a student or transfer a concept to a student is not an easy job, because you have to transfer one concept, but for the teacher, multiple concepts on multiple levels should be understood by him or her. So I think that is how teaching is. And frankly speaking, I'm scared of teaching.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how we learn. So, what skills or experience, help you to find out this job?
So basically, so I'm an avid believer of problem solving. So whenever I have students, so I tell them that try to solve as many problems as you can. Because when you solve a problem, learning it in a class or learning it in a course is different. But when you try to actually implement those things, then you get a better idea of how things are working. How I started was I was doing multiple projects. So I work as a freelancer. So when you are doing freelances, so you come across many different problems. So I have clients from France, Hong Kong, USA, Canada, and those big countries, and the clients from them have a lot of different problems. So the reason why I was able to get score good in my modules and do good projects was that I was freelancing. And when you do freelancing, you are actually trying to solve the problem. And when you're trying to solve the problem, you learn a lot. That's where it says that learning in the classroom is one different thing, but when you go into the industry and when you have a practical implementation how things are working, and when you try to solve the problem by yourself, so that is like a X times learning. So that teaches you a lot. So due to that, I was able to face any problem that came across. So as mentioned before, I'm not perfect. I'm not a good coder. I'm not a good software engineer. But if a problem comes to me, I try my best to solve it in any or possible way that I can. So that is how I got into teaching as well. So teaching again was a problem for me. When I was a student, I really disliked teachers who just read from the slides and who are just reading from the slides and not doing any practical work. So when I took my sessions, so the first lab that I took, I had quiz at the end. I had really lot of information that people would be needing. So that is how I'm trying to do my tutoring job as well. So, and the answer to your question, how I got into it was I was recommended by the tutor. And the reason she recommended me was because I was doing like multiple projects at the same time while doing my dissertation. So there were like 3 projects. I was supervising 3 students, 2 projects I was doing myself. And I think she got an idea that I can do a job. So that's why she recommended it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, in software or in any field, problem solving is one of the main tasks. So that's how you just figure out the problems, solve it. And that's how tech companies are built upon.
Yes.
I mean, for students who want to follow a similar path, what advice would you give?
So for any student, I myself am a student. So I always tell that solve problems, because for example, when you're solving problem, you will first learn to how to identify a problem. When you identify a problem, then you will find out ways to solve that problem. It's just the way as, for example, when they say that get your hand dirty,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's the same concept that get your hands into the problem and then try to solve, because you have done your bachelor's, you are still pursuing a master's, and a lot of online learning is already available on YouTube. There are a lot of courses, everything, ChatGPT, Gemini, you have AI models as well. Don't use that, but those are tools that are there to help you. So they can teach you a lot. So they might even teach you better than teacher, myself. But the thing is that you yourself need to be able to identify a problem. If you can't identify a problem, ChatGPT cannot solve it for you. So first, you need to be able to identify a problem. Then you can use it. You can use these different AI models, and there are a lot of different courses, materials available to solve that particular problem. When you solve it, that's how your learning is like 10 times increased. So that is how you can like solve problems and just get your hand dirty. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, staying up to date in the coding is a key. Like, what are the some ways students can upskill effectively?
So in technology, it's changing all the time. It's very bad. So you can't just stay update with everything. So a lot of time there are new frameworks, there are a lot of new languages. So everything is coming at the time. So to stay up to date, that is one thing, because the way you can do it is you can read news articles, you can watch YouTube videos, follow tech channels, MKBHD, Mr. It's the Boss, Dave 2D. So they will give you a brief idea in how where tech is going. But in terms of coding practices, there are already frameworks that can solve problems. So you have Python, you have Java, you have C hash. So there are rigid frameworks that are there to solve problems. So my concept is that, so there are two concepts. Basically, there is a concept of breadth and depth. So what I was told in my bachelor's was that cover the breadth, because if you find a problem in any of the breadths, then you can simply go down and learn it. But if you follow just one route and go in one depth, then you won't be able to understand what the other depths are. So I'd always say that get familiarized with basic things first, get good at it, have a good understanding how a language works, what the core concepts are, what databases are, how can you have a communication, what networks are. Once you have that understanding, once you have your core concepts, then you can implement them in any framework or in any language. Because any framework or any language, only the syntax has changed. The main problem solving is already similar between different frameworks and different languages. So you just need to familiarize with yourself with the coding techniques, with the syntax. Rather than that, the actual problem, how you can solve it, it stays the same. At least from my experience. It's not that much of a vast experience, but from my little smart experience, that's how you can solve problems. So if you have a good understanding of how things are working, then you can use that knowledge to translate it into different languages and different frameworks. And it's easy for you to learn new things if you have a basic and good understanding.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's a great advice. And also, I mean, in order to learn any program language, it is like you're talking with a computer. So for that, you need a communication language. So that is like a programming. You take a Python or whatever. You just communicate with the machine and taking that output. And to wrap up, so we'll end up with one question and with the rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll try my best. I'm very bad at these questions.
So your favorite tech gadget?
So my favorite tech gadget will be a laptop, not a mobile phone.
Your favorite piece of advice for aspiring coders?
For aspiring coders, it will be to get your hands dirty. And there's one more advice that I like to give. So it might be subjective, but I say that, for example, there are two things when you go into the practical work. There is the earning side, the monetization, the monetary value, money, blink. That is one side. And the other side is learning. So if you are at a position where you're doing either one of those, either you're earning or either you're learning, you're good. If you're getting both, then that's the best. But if you're at a position where you're not learning and you're not getting money, then don't be at that position. Find ways to change your position, change your status, or change your job, or change your role, so that at least you never stop learning. Because as you just keep on learning, your brain will improve, your brain will grow, So that will make you a better person, in my experience. And that is one advice that I say to myself every day as well, and to anyone who is watching this video.
Yeah, similar way. I mean, at the age of the technology is rapidly advancing, we need to keep ourselves like a update. So for that, there's no end.
You keep on learning
Keep on learning.
until you hit the grave.
Okay. So final question is like, will AI replace humans? So this is a question like haunting me. So I'm a computer science student, so I'm just thinking like sometimes, okay. So if I go to ChatGPT, if I ask for a landing page, it will give a beautiful landing page. I just like take 2-3 seconds. So that's the question that's running in my mind. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's a tricky question. So the simple answer is no. Why no? Because AI, I know it is progressing at a rapid speed, it is learning, it is getting better at things, but it has a lot of problems. So for simple students like us, if we tell us, give us a landing page, so it will give us a landing page. But when you go into the depths, optimizations, okay, you go deep how things will be working, business knowledge, domain knowledge. So that is still where AI is lacking. So you need a person to be able to identify those. So I had a similar question from one of my professors. So he was explaining it. So the thing is, when clients reach out to you or reach out to, for example, a software engineer that, oh, I'm having this problem, the first problem is, as we said in the beginning, is to identify the problem. If you are not able to tell the AI models what you need specifically, if you're not able to tell that, identify the problems, the model cannot solve it for you. So first problem is problem identification, and the way you learn it is when you have a lot of knowledge of businesses, when you have a lot of knowledge of computer science, coding concepts, programming skills, then that is when you're able to identify a problem. So AI is getting good, everyone knows it, but will it replace humans or specifically coders? So to that, the answer is no. Up until now, it's no, but most probably it won't replace it because you first need to identify the problems. And there was a similar project launched. Have you heard about Debian? Debian. So that project was, you could give it like a problem and it will create a whole web application for you. But again, with that, there were a lot of problems. So on the basic level, on the surface level, it seems that okay, it's getting the job done, but it's just not getting the job done. That project or that application is not deployable. So you need a human resource or a programmer or a computer science student like us to actually sit down and work on it. So as of today, in this age, AI can be a tool that can help us, that can aid us. For example, debugging and those types of things, the AI can do it, no doubt. Simple questions, complex questions about concepts, about problems, it can also tell you that. But to replace a actual human being, that is still impossible. Yesterday, I was seeing a video in which they had to generate video and generate images with AI. So the image they wanted was to two handshakes of a human being. When they gave it to the AI, so there were like 4 hands and like 11 fingers and 12 fingers. So it might get better with age, but that is the extent of which AI. So it is a tool that can help us, but as of today, not replace us. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah. No worries. Yeah. I mean, that's a great conversation that I had. I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, I've always been amazed by your journey. So that's what made me to do a podcast with you. Thank you for accepting my request. I'm happy to do it anytime when I have the time. So yeah. I'm happy to do it. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you. Bye.